We are live. Now we are live. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you, Hassan? You survived from
I
the
survived. I made
from
it to the other side.
the.
I, I want I want to say I want to, yeah, I want to say thank you for the people that have been checking in, people who been kind of following up with me, and also the people that have been kind of reviewing some of the content that we've been putting out there to kind of learn about the standard and the project that we're working on. As usual, we're trying to kind of maximize the benefit of what we're doing, right? So we're building something useful. Okay, so it's actually an actual tool. It's not like a hello world program that, you may or may not, use. It's an actual real program that can be a product, something that you can use. We are building a community and trying to educate people about the standard, the benefits of the standard, and all that. But also, all our streams are really raising funds for charity organizations around the world. So I'm trying as much as I can to maximize, the benefit out of these sessions. So the 1 hour that you spend here with us, whether you are a follower or someone who's contributing to the standard or contributing to the projects that we're working on, you're really doing some very positive vibes and positive energy out there into the world. And okay, so we are back. We're starting to pick up where we left off. Hi, Gregory. Nice to nice to hear from you again. Let's take a look at the map here. So the last time, Kailu, we were able to successfully implement and execute a processing service, and I think that guy is merged. Let's take a quick look here just to make sure. So if I go into the entity intelligence, by the way, just for the people watching, one of the amazing things about the standard is that you can literally go away for a week and come back and pick up exactly where you left off. There's the continuity here is amazing because you're playing by the same rules. I also have to tell you that if you stay too far away for too long, it becomes a problem for you to kind of remember all the rules. Always get yourself kind of comfortable with what you're building and all that. It's always good to practice, whether it's something you have to do or not. So Kailu, it looks like we merged. This is our 35th is update README project. That's probably Gregory. He updated the documentation, status diagram. All of this is perfect. Really appreciate that. And then the retrieve data right here. So that's the one that we actually merged in. If I look at the documentation here based on the roadmap that Gregory has for us, so every time we develop something, Kailu, Gregory basically puts this little marker on it that say that this is the next step, right? How cool is that? It's pretty cool, right? So every time we finish a piece of this, he goes and basically updates, the diagram, which is very important for people to kind of know where we're starting and where we're going. Hey, Abdul, nice to hear from you. Okay, so we want to do SQL generation orchestration service. You want to do that one with me, Kay? Is that what we're going to be doing? Let's do it.
Yeah,
Should
let's
I
hope.
call it should I call it data orchestration service or SQL generation orchestration? Let's see the naming here. We might change the name a little bit, but let's just see what makes sense in terms of naming conventions. We have, let's see here. Let me make it even closer to people so you can see what I'm doing here. We have on the processing, we have the data processing service and we have the AI processing service. Does it make sense to call it data orchestration service, Kay, or what do you think?
I think data is okay.
Data is okay, right? Let's go with, well, if it's data, then the other one it's gonna need to have a different name. Like what does the AI piece do? It says retrieve SQL query, right? Ah, that's what it is. So if this is retrieve a SQL query, then we are basically let's stick to our plan. Our plan is to basically call it a SQL generation orchestration service. Let's do that. What do you think? SQL query orchestration service. Hey, Omar.
Yes, and hello everyone.
Hey. you know, two things are super hard in programming, naming things and invalidating cache. So this is a tough one. But let me just kick the ball here. I'm just gonna go here and say, okay, users, Hassan Habib orchestrations, SQL generation orchestration service. I don't want to, the reason why I don't want to put generation in there is because I don't want to put a verb in there. I don't want to put a particular action, right? So that's my only kind of concern. But
It's also the model name, right? If
right,
anything,
it doesn't even match the model name. I mean, honestly, you're pushing in string and getting out string. Like there's no models here. You know what I mean? So whatever is coming in, coming out, that's strings. There's nothing else. But what we're passing in is natural language, and what we're pulling out is a SQL expression. So let's call it SQL query orchestration service. Okay, let's stick to that. So this is SQL query orchestration service. So this will be retrieve SQL query orchestration, basically. Well, so let's go up in here in under, so there's foundations and processings. Under services, I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to call it orchestrations. And under orchestrations, I'm going to create a new one called SQL queries, like that. Here's a quick interface. So this is my interface, iSQL query orchestration service. So that's my interface. And what we really expect to happen here is that really we're going to pass in a natural language and we're going to get a query out of it, which is that's the biggest part of the magic, right? It's really going into the database, getting the schema of the database, giving it to AI and saying, here's a natural query. Go ahead and tell me what this is supposed to be, right? So just to kind of, bring people to into perspective, what we're doing is that remember you have an AI service, and this AI service basically goes and says, based on this Da Vinci, here's a natural query. Go ahead and take this, right? But the processing service that's sitting on top of this AI is basically going and saying, respond only with code given SQL DB with the following tables, and then you pass in the tables, translate the following query international. So some really good work that we put in there that hopefully will be fruitful when it comes to the implementation of this. So here's a SQL query, and we're gonna try it today if the time allows. I know we don't have much time, but I just wanted us to do the happy path today. So let's see how that goes. Orchestration service like this. Here you go, and then I'm inheriting that guy. So iSQL query orchestration service. We really didn't define a method yet, so it's a value task of a string because that's the query, and then generate SQL query async, and here's your natural query. So it takes in a string and returns a string. It takes in a natural query and it returns a SQL query. So I'm going to go back here into this guy, and I'm just going to control period. It's going to try to implement this stuff. We're going to inject that good stuff shortly. So what are the things that we need to inject here is one of them is the AI processing service, right? That's the chronological order of things is really important in here. What service are you going to be needing first? And based on that, go ahead and kind of make it do it accordingly. So I think also, let's see, we called it data processing service. So I think we call the data service first. We get the table detail and then we pass in the query. So it's a double-edged kind of thing. Okay. So I have these two things. I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go up in here, huh? And here you go. So this is the injected. So really, just so we understand here, what I'm really doing is that in the data processing service, I'm retrieving data results, right? This data results is the guy that has all the details about the columns, the tables, and all that good stuff that are going on. And then up a level, upstream, what I'm doing here is that I'm basically going and saying in this AI processing service, I need to take this list of schema table, which is table information, in addition to the natural query. Right now, is this schema table? I think it's something that we're gonna have to map. Um, let's see here. I might have, so this is retrieve SQL query async. You're giving it, I think we changed the data type here on the data side. The data type here is data table and column group data and column data, which is a name and a value. So does it make sense to have these guys speak the same language in terms of, or I might be calling the wrong service. Hang on. No, it is a processing service, so it should be in the right place in here. This is our data processing service, and it returns a data result. But the model that the AI service is taking is different. It's called a schema table. We might need to change that at some point in time. Omar, do you remember, is this the old model that we have for this? Or was this a, no, I see Kailu in here. This could be the older, this is 24 days ago. Uh,
Just, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit like my mind is blank now, but shouldn't we do the schema service to get the schema of the database first?
the schema service. So okay, so do we need a processing service? Let's see, what does the schema service do? It returns a schema, right? And inside that schema, there is a so it's actually the schema service. You're right. So do we need a processing service for the schema service? Is that what you're saying? So
I
maybe we,
actually want to take a look at the diagram if you can open it. I just forgot like this, the
yeah,
naming.
yeah. That's the cool thing. That's what I was just literally before you joined in. That's what I was telling people. So I think there is a query execution part and there's a query parser, but I think the name here is different. I think it's a schema service. So instead of a data broker, data service, data processing service, I think we still need to implement a schema processing service before we actually do the orchestration.
Yeah, the namings are off a little bit here.
So let me let me go back here, and that's fine. We just need to, I think the data processing service that we developed was really something that will actually physically execute and return data, right? But we still need a schema processing service. Okay, that's fine. Let me go back to main, discard all of that, discard changes. Yes. Let me revert this. That's fine. It'll be also a very quick thing because it's just a pass through. Like this processing service is just a pass through. That's even easier than the processing service. So let's just see how fast we can develop that. So this is a new branch. Users Hassan Habib processings schema retrieve. So that's a schema. And then under processings, we need schemas. And under schemas, there should be an interface in here called retrieve schemas. So this is I schema processing service. That's the interface. We also need the schema processing service. Schema processing service. That's the actual concrete implementation. Throw some copyrights in there. This will be a value task. Schema retrieve database, retrieve schema async. Now the question is here, did we ever, like in the schema service, what's our input? There's no input. You just call this and that guy will execute the query, and then it will convert into everything into a schema, and that schema internally will be a schema table. Okay, perfect. All right, so retrieve schema async like this. It's just a pass through, so we're not really doing any magic. Here's this guy. And then in here, I want to implement that. So I schema processing service, control period. We depends on the I schema service. There's your guy. Here you go. And then if you control period that guy, it will generate a constructor. Since it's a one-liner, we could fat arrow this guy just like this. Control KE will clean up, you know, the unnecessary lines. And this here should be our failing test, right? Sorry, are not implemented. Now we just need a failing test for it. So under processings, I'll just go up in here and say schemas. Under schemas, I will create a schema processing service tests like that. And let's just define our, so here's mock, I schema service, that's our dependency, schema service mock. And then here's a CTOR, private read-only I schema processing service, right? That's not a mock. And then this dot schema service mock equal new, and then this dot schema processing service equal new schema processing service. Here's our schema service in here. This dot schema mock dot object. Okay, so this is all good. I wonder then, did we, in the schema testing side, did we actually create something that generates a schema for us, or I think we built it by hand? Yeah, so I need a filler in here because I really don't care. So public static filler, I need something that can return a schema for me. So create schema filler, a new filler schema. I don't think there's anything else needed in here. Private static schema, create random schema like that. Create schema filler dot create. I'm trying to beat the time, but also like feel free, people watching, to ask any questions. We need this to be partial, right? So this is public partial class. That's for the testing. Control K will clean things up a little bit. I'll copy that guy. I'll paste it up in here. And then I will just say dot retrieve. So dot logic dot retrieve. So that's basically the test that we're trying to type in here. And really all what we're gonna do, by the way, someone asked me the other day about this. They said, like, you know, typing the test so fast. But if you train yourself, it's just like any skill set you have. If you train yourself to do something, you won't even be thinking about the code anymore. So just do it over and over again. You know, we are creatures of habit. So if you do it over and over, you're gonna get to it. Should retrieve schema async. Here's a given, here's a when, here's a then. Here's a schema, random schema equal create random schema right here. And then retrieved schema. So you want the language to match what you're doing. And then at the very end here, you want to say expected schema, which is retrieved schema. We're going to deep clone that one so nobody can change the data on us. It's retrieved schema dot deep clone. So this way nobody can play with the references for the work that you're doing. Now let's set up our mock real quick. So here's a mock dot setup service. See, now that you're dependent on a service because you're at the processing level, you can't say brokers anymore. There are no brokers unless you're doing something with like logging or something like that. These kind of brokers are what we call utility brokers. So you can actually work with these. That's not a problem. Okay, so here's your actual schema. Await dot service and then retrieve schema async. And then actual schema should be equivalent to expected schema. So this is all very, very straightforward. And then I'm basically verifying that my service here has been called only once. And then lastly, I'm verifying that my service never will be called more than once, but also never any other function in that particular service will be called. So it's a very quick, basic test for a pass-through. The easiest thing in the world, right? Let's see here. Kandarb says, I made the first pull request for O++. Have you checked it out? I'd be happy to give a corrective criticism. Yes, we'll take a look at that, but this outside of this project. Hi, Nazir. Good to see you too. All right. So this should fail. Kailu, do you want to take this very, very hard test and make it pass from your side?
Yeah, okay.
Let me just make sure it's failing for the right reason. Yeah, operation is not implemented. Perfect, because it's our own model, so it's not going to have some craziness in it. Here's a fail. Boom, take it to your side. And while you're doing that, I'm creating a draft PR just for people to kind of be able to watch, but I also want to trigger the build as we're doing things. So just keep that in mind that that's basically what I'm doing here. All right, Kay, it's all yours. Run with it.
Okay.
This is processing schema service retrieve DB schema. Okay. So just for the people that are following up this stream, and really, if you just follow any service of these, it's really good stuff. But this is processing retrieve DB schema. All right, Kay, it's all yours. Go for it. Yeah, so this should be basically just call the dependency. Yep. Yep. Yeah, it'll be on the processing side. So is it happy? Is it good? Yeah, it's good. All right. I just wanted us to get the happy path out of the way, but basically tomorrow, the next step for us basically is to handle the exceptions and then actually go build that orchestration service that we were trying to start today. Gregory, if you have the time, please just update the exact names on these services, because what we basically did was we renamed most of our services to be something a little bit more meaningful. I don't know if we should, like Gregory, I don't know if we should still do mermaid or not. It's up to you. But other than that, I think we should be in good format, in good shape. Uh, the thing about this stream as well is that it's really simple. You're really just seeing a happy path of a very simple dependency call being called that is test driven, right? So take that model and then see how we're going to progress, throughout this service to get it out of the door. This is one of the easiest services. You'll see why it's easy in the next couple of sessions. Thank you, Greg. Thank you all for joining me today. And let's get the ball rolling again and get this project out the door. I appreciate you all. Take care. Thank you.
Bye bye.